You got a bed frame.
It has to hold up to a Unimog. So that's kind of a unique little hurdle with this situation.
I mean, it's awkward. Thought there might be a few things we didn't anticipate. Is it gonna clear the window frame?
All right, it turned out pretty good. The side ones are really good. The first few are not so good. Taking a big risk here.
Are you? Welcome back to episode 3. Today we're going to put the bed frame in the back of the box. When thinking about the installation of the cabinets and a lot of the stuff, we have to make sure everything is kind of lined up from the back going forward. So we're going to get the bed frame in the closet in here and just check that the next cabinet and this kitchen cabinet are going to be in the perfect spot for everything else to make sense.
All that we have to do today is put the bed frame into the back of the box here. That's really it. All the hard work is done because I welded the bed frame earlier this summer. We talked about this a little bit in episode 1 where we mentioned that we spent all summer building the interior of our camper. We didn't have the vehicle, we didn't have the box, but we had CAD drawings of it so that we could start designing these things and building them in the months before the vehicle got here. That is paying off now because our interior is almost fully built.
So really today is the day of reckoning, the moment of truth. Does everything fit? Are our measurements right, both from what we were working from and what we measured? I think everything should fit pretty good, but there might be some minor modifications. For example, it didn't really factor in the 1/8 inch capping in the corners. Not a big deal. It might just be notching out little parts of cabinets, but I don't know, we gotta get some pieces in here and see where we're at.
So right now we are gonna show you all the footage from months ago when it was nice and warm out, all the welding and fabrication that went into creating this bed frame. This will be our first big piece of furniture in the box, and that's a pretty big moment. I'm just hoping that it fits. The project of the day is making the bed frame. The big difference with this bed frame is that we are making it out of aluminum. The other big thing is that it has to be deconstructed to be put through the door of our habitat box. That is a huge thing. I can't just weld this whole frame together like we've done in the past because it has to pop apart and it has to go through that door. So that's kind of a unique little hurdle with this situation. Last year, I was learning to MIG weld, so I made that bed frame out of steel. This year, I've been learning to TIG weld, and that's been in anticipation of using aluminum so that it can be a little bit lighter weight. Previous to this, I've mostly just been practicing on scrap pieces, so this is my first big project of TIG welding. I know it's not gonna be perfect, but I'm just excited to do a full project with what I've learned so far. This saw has been in all the builds. It's been featured. Welcome back, bandsaw.
Awesome saw. What do we got? That's nice.
Got a nice 45. There she is.
That's beautiful. Did it.
pretty good. The side ones are really good. The fillet ones got a little bit too hot, but I got 5 more to go. So keep practicing. What do you think, Drew?
I think they look great.
Think they look good?
Yeah.
I have some things to work on, but that's part of the process.
Yeah.
They stay together.
Hey,
That's the most important
that's all
thing.
we need.
It has to hold up to a Unimog. I think they turned out pretty good. I can definitely tell which one was my first one today. It's this one. And then they got progressively better.
Saw that coming. You stacked those in a funny way.
Oh, it didn't bust apart.
That's a good sign.
Yes, it passed the test.
Don't want to be cutting your hands on it. Ooh, that's loud.
Let's turn it over so you can see the top
What
of
it
it.
actually looks like.
Yeah.
In the past, we have made the bed frames out of steel and then the platform on top, which the mattress lays on, out of 3/4 inch plywood. Mostly because we had access to that and it was easy for us to do. Part of the problem with that is it's pretty heavy, but really you have to do all these other steps to waterproof it anyways. So we were able to use these scrap pieces of aluminum that your dad had and bend them into these channels. And then they're pretty sharp, so I was just deburring them. But we made the whole top of the bed frame out of this. And Savannah did all the welding, so I'll let her explain the more detailed part.
Yes, this is the top to the bed frame, and like Drew said, we felt that it was a weird decision to use all of these waterproof materials and then just stick a piece of plywood on top of it. So we really wanted to try to keep it all metal, but the problem with that is that the top of our bed frames always hinge up on struts. It lifts the mattress so that you can access the storage from inside the camper box. So we had to find a creative way to make that hinging lid out of metal as well as fill the gaps in the top of the bed frame. So we're just kind of replicating what that plywood used to do, but doing it out of metal, which if you have the ability to do that, it's definitely ideal. For past builds, I wasn't welding as much and it was just a lot easier to use a piece of ply. But now that I've been doing welding for a few years, it makes more sense to do it out of metal. It'll be waterproof, it'll be lightweight, and even with each of these slats in place, it will probably still be just as heavy as a sheet of 3/4 ply because that is really heavy. So I made this hinging part the other day, and what we have to do now is take the entire bed frame, set it onto this table, and weld all the slats into the gap that this door will not be filling because we need a place to sleep.
We're gonna need that soon.
So we need to finish this bed frame. Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
am finally done with all of this welding. Oh my gosh, this was so much welding. On the bottom of this bed frame, you can see from one side to the other. The first few are not so good, and the last few are a lot better. Of course, the welds on the top I'm really proud of because those are just straight flat welds, really easy, and I've got those down by now. Super, super happy with how it's turned out. I'm honestly so happy to get wood out of the equation in this bed frame and have a completely aluminum frame.
We're interrupting this episode briefly to tell you about a new Patreon exclusive video series that's going to follow this build.
Patreon is our subscription only page, and for every episode of the build series, we'll be sitting down to watch and talk about all the different projects going on in the videos. So behind the scenes moments, more in-depth details. There's so much that goes into each one of these projects. There's no way that we could fit it all into one build episode. So that's why we're starting this commentary series, to give you a little bit more detail about what goes into each project. You know, I had seen how other people used it in this application, but until you actually glue something to your wall and then put your full body weight on it, and that thing doesn't even hesitate. There's no movement. I mean, I don't think you could get that thing off the wall.
Yeah, that's the new thing.
This is a Patreon exclusive, available to all of our Patreons, $5 and up. Patreon is a wonderful way to support your favorite creators.
So we'll see you over on Patreon, but now back to the episode. When preparing to install the cabinets to the closet, realize there's a lot of things that would be easier to get done first. Sometimes you have to retrofit them, which can be harder. Example, the air conditioner last year, we did it last, and it was really kind of a pain to get all the lines to where they need to be. So I'm trying to get this marked up now before the closet is even there. We're gonna put a few aluminum strips onto the FRP first, so we'll adhesive these in, and then we can screw this into it. That way it's not permanently mounted, and it'll be easy to take this off if it fails. So yeah, we're just gonna basically put some brackets on the wall that we could do anything with, but for right now, it's just to hold the air conditioner.
All right, we are going to let that dry probably until tomorrow, and then we can screw in the AC unit, and that means we can then put the closet in. If you put this end in,
Start pulling the bottom out.
try not to bounce it.
Yeah, here we go. This will work.
Okay. Shapes, you know.
Actually got a professional motor.
All right, put it down.
Thought there might be a few things we didn't anticipate. This mounts to the subframe for the whole box. We had a drawing that kind of showed that, but Didn't think it out when we were designing this. So that's kind of the things of getting it in here we got to figure out. Not a big deal. We'll just probably move this leg over a little bit. Shouldn't take too long, but yep, that's how it goes. Okay, it's the next morning. It's been about 15 hours since we set this adhesive and this angle here, so it should be pretty dry. It's really strong. It's very hot in this box. Last night we had the heater on. I came in here and my granola bars, the chocolate was melted. So good conditions to dry things. But we're gonna give it a test today and see where we're at. After fitting the bed frame in here and looking at it, we made a last minute adjustment. Originally we had made these legs to go against the wall and sit on the departure angle. Even after I cleaned them up, I noticed it was butting it off the wall more than we wanted to. So we made a last second choice to just adhesive a piece of 2.5 by 1 angle into the wall that will hold the bed frame.
So what we're gonna do now is put the back end of the bed frame up onto the angle that we glued to the wall. And we're gonna make sure that it's level and that it supports our weight. Two very important things.
Let's just kick it out somewhere.
If you don't work with adhesives, you almost don't trust it, but it's so strong.
Yeah, never even come across something like this.
Scraping up the
Doesn't go that high all the way, right? Put it lean towards this side the most, right?
Well, it holds me.
It's not going anywhere.
Taking a big risk here.
Are you? I don't think so. Maybe a minor one.
Both with my welding and the adhesive.
I think you're alright.
We did it.
Push it in all the way.
Yeah.
It's gonna hold some real weight. Pops off. Rips the thing off. Yeah, that stuff's super strong. Okay, we got a bed frame.
We did it!
Step one. Step one of 9,000. Go. It's awkward. Welding it, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna put this top on.
Oversize the door hole, it should be easy to work in there.
That's all we have for you for episode 3, but the bed frame is in, and this is the base of a lot of the other things that we have to do in here. You also saw us prepping and installing the inside part of the AC unit. That's a little mini split that we installed in our unicell build. We liked it a lot, so we decided to put it in here too. We wanted to put that in because our closet will then box in that space and it'll just be harder to do everything in that corner. So we wanted to make our lives a little bit easier going forward.
With the bed in, getting ready for the closet, we can just start building out and forward to the front of the box, because those things couldn't have got in with anything else in here. So now they're in place, and yeah, that's really exciting. That means we're getting way closer to actually getting the cabinets in, which is super exciting. At the end of the day, we decided to not use the back legs we had made for the bed frame. Once we actually had the box here, we realized the aluminum capping on the departure angle was hitting the legs and pushing the whole thing forward. So it was actually a lot easier. We just put a piece of angle on the wall and rest the bed frame on there, and it works great.
Yeah, I think just once the box got here and we started using these industrial adhesives, we realized how strong they actually are and that we can rely on them more than we thought we could. But really, that's all we have for you this week. Putting the bed frame in, first major piece of our layout. Couldn't be happier to finally get a piece of furniture in here, and next week we will be installing the closet, setting it on the bed frame, and gluing it to the wall. We've been working on that closet for a while. The framing of the closet is also welded out of aluminum, so more welding coming up next week. But until then, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Later.
Clean those up.
What do you think of my welds?
They look like someone else did them.
Is that good or bad? They're that bad, you're saying?
Was it me? Did I do that?
Oh, maybe. This is the part of the bed that lifts up.